Hi, this is Chinki Sinha. Welcome to Outlook Talks, and we are with Rajat Kapoor. He doesn't need an introduction, but he's a filmmaker, playwright, actor.
Why do people say he doesn't need an introduction and then start giving introduction?
Because I don't.
Either I think you do or you don't. Make up your mind.
He doesn't need an introduction, so I'm not going to give. Okay, so Rajat Ji, as I call you, you have been working on this adaptation of Brothers Karamazov of Dostoevsky, who has given us so much despair since childhood. I've been reading him, and I saw the poster at Prithvi Theatre, Karamjale Brothers.
That's right.
Now you should tell us a little bit about that, because Dostoevsky is known to all of us as this despair-giving person. Now,
despair-giving. I don't know. Yeah, for sure he is stressful.
Yeah.
And it's very funny. I read The Idiot.
You managed to.
30 years back, and it was one of my favorite books. And of course, Crime and Punishment. But I never read Brothers Karamazov, which I read last year, and I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But in all Crime and Punishment and The Idiot and Brothers Karamazov, how many times do you think he says he was suffering from brain fever, as if he was in a delirium? All his people are suffering from brain fever and in a delirium and running from this to that, and they're talking to themselves and they're generally going nuts. That's a big part of his world, of course. And yet there is there's so much faith. There is,
and there's a lot of this to and fro in the courtrooms and things like that.
Right. But I'm saying overall, as a vision of mankind, let's say, so there is this suffering, immense suffering.
Yeah.
And hope in spite of that.
Yeah.
So that suffering is never
absolute.
Sorry?
Absolute suffering.
Then it's not an absolute suffering. There's always hope. There's always a way of overcoming that suffering through. इसमें एक बहुत अच्छा है the priest or the starets that he's working with in the monastery. He asked Alyosha to go. He says, go into the world, and before you come back to the monastery later. But now you need to live in the world to suffer and to be compassionate to others' suffering, and learn to find joy in suffering. That's his job, Alyosha's job in the world, to find joy in the suffering. And then with all that, then come back, then you'll be ready for
the battle.
Yeah.
The other thing is, see, there's this one line, I think, in this book, that they had their Hamlet and we have our Karamazovs. We only have our... So you have done the adaptation of Hamlet as well. Right. And there is something to an adaptation which has been a long debate also, like when you adapt a book into a film or a book into a play. You also have done a lot of Shakespeare in terms of like adapting it to the current context, like I have seen King Lear, for instance,
and Macbeth.
And Macbeth, and they're all, when you do them, when you perform them here, it's very different, and it makes it collapses that time in the sense when he had written and then bring it to the current.
It should be.
Exactly.
Otherwise, what's the point of doing a play set somewhere else in another time? The fact that we're doing these plays or these books, adapting them into plays or films, means that they have something of value for us, right?
Yeah.
Why would I?
So how is it like how do you do it? Like, how do you get this idea? How do you feel a sense of this thing? Can I, because when we do it sometimes, like even to review, am I going too far from this, or am I betraying the...
correct, you're right. So of course it's a leap of faith. You hope that you'll be true to the text in some way.
Yeah.
So what one is trying to do is to not get away from the essence of the thing, to find the essence of the thing first. That is the first job, to dive deep enough into it to really find what the text is about, and then to delve in that and to bring that to the best of your abilities. So I'm not interested, when I'm doing Shakespeare, for example, I'm not interested in the plot of the things. I'm not interested that Fortinbras is coming from Norway to wage a war, and So we throw all that stuff out. What is not, the plot is not interesting for me anymore. It is something beyond that, where we can get into the characters, into their dilemma, and into the existential aspect of their suffering. You know, because if you feel that Shakespeare is, that's his point of writing this play, or this is why Dostoevsky is created these people. What is he looking for? You know, through this story. He's not looking for a story where father and son are in love with the same woman. That's not important. That's just a ploy to go somewhere else with it, you know.
Yeah.
So that somewhere else becomes interesting. Yeah, and you try and you hope that in spite of going away from that time and that place and that language, and to find this in your surroundings somehow, you still will not betray the very essence of the thing, and you will be able to, and also in another format. You're doing a play. It's not.
It's not.
This was a book. So when you're doing a play, anyway, you are taking a leap, you know, and you're trying to find theatrical means of bringing it alive. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So now this Karamazov Brothers, which is now Karamjale Brothers.
Yeah, that's very interesting actually.
We tried to set it in Delhi. The family is Karamjots. And so it's winter in Delhi, and these are people that we could meet actually.
Yeah.
You know.
All of them.
All of them.
Even that crime and punishment guy actually could be.
They're all around us. So, you know, nothing much has changed
Not
Chinki,
really.
in terms of human psychology or emotional journey. We are the same people that we were 2000 years back, more or less. You know, surroundings have changed. But you read a Greek tragedy or you read text from there, we're the same.
It's the same, like you suffer, that's why you go to literature all the time.
Exactly.
That's why too. But also there's something very interesting which I find about your plays, which I've been watching because you guys keep giving me free tickets to come. So about like how do you go about choosing? You know, like the way you have chosen even Shakespeare, for instance, and the particular plays, it's a very interesting selection. And the other one is, how did you come to Dostoevsky? And again, back to the same line, you know, they have their Hamlet, and we only have our Brothers Karamazov.
I don't know how it's something that attracts you, like I said, in that text, and you think you want to deal with it at that time, you know. Hamlet came because before that we had done C for Clown, and I had this bright idea that if clowns were to do a classical text like Hamlet, what would happen? So we tried that. And Macbeth is all about greed and ambition and guilt that comes with it, which is also very contemporary. And then I did As You Like It, which is about the gender thing, which is also very interesting in today's time.
King Lear?
King Lear was for me a play about old age and love of your daughters and betrayal and loss of power. So many things. Funny thing with King Lear, for example, when we started Lear, I said, I'm not interested in text at all. So we sat down, Atul, Vinay and I, we started rehearsing. And we said, okay, what are the themes of the play? The theme, so we started looking, loss of power, blindness, betrayal, father and children, old age, delirium, so like that. And every day we would improvise around that. And it's very funny that Vinay had two daughters, I have a daughter, Atul had a daughter, and we started talking about our daughters. And for example, when they were born and all that. And we started talking about our relationship with our fathers. And the play emerged out of that somehow. So it was really our experience. Shakespeare, King Lear through us, you know, really. Filtered through us and our lives and how we have lived.
So there's also the other question is about translations. So for instance, Dostoevsky is in Russian, and Vinay was telling me the other day कि 10 translation पढ़े, मतलब अलग-अलग लोगों के, because a lot of people will. I mean, translation is also not just a mechanical thing; it's a very, you know, it's yes, and also your own experiences come in the way you look at a word, for instance. And so, how did you find
we are doing it in Hindi.
Yeah, that's what.
So we are translating it all over again. Again, we are not translating it. We can't. So we, my process has been to not write things. We rehearse.
Yeah.
And we play the situation. This is a situation, how would you react to it? And actors start reacting. They create their own text, they start talking. I pick up words from that, I add some of my own. And so we write that text. So again, it's not like sitting, उसने ये बोला था, हमको इन शब्दों में बोलना ऐसा नहीं है. We're talking and creating it as we go along. And we arrive at it.
Yeah.
And then you have to be aware that it takes the story forward, the narrative has to continue, and it has to have the emotion intact, and try and be true to the character who's speaking these lines, so all of that. But it's not like a mechanical thing. It's not something that you so for example, in this there's a character Smerdyakov, who's the bastard child of Fyodor Karamazov, and he's a servant in the house. So the actor who's playing it is brilliant. He's from Delhi, and he just finds these beauteous words, it just makes so much sense. And then it's the language that we speak. So adaptation is every which way, So in the text he's saying, don't go to Moscow, go to Chermashnia.
Yeah.
And so we are saying, don't go to Bombay, go to Meerut. Why did he want me to go to Meerut? Sir, wo Meerut nearby hai na. That's what he's just you improvise and you arrive at something.
Yeah. Also the process, so let's say when you decided to do this Dostoevsky, so if you can tell us about your introduction to Dostoevsky when you started.
It was in 1990 when Mani Kaul was making The Idiot as a film. And I had worked with Mani the year before that on Nazar, and next year he was going to start The Idiot, and I worked initially on The Idiot, then I had to quit. But I read it that time and wow. And
that was your first Dostoevsky book?
First Dostoevsky. And when our son was born, I wanted to call him Mishkin. And the bizarre thing is, Meena wanted to call him Alyosha.
Yeah?
Because I had not read Karamazov and she had not read The Idiot. Then of course now I tell Vivan, that our son, and I tell him that Mishkin was the idiot. He said, why did you want me to call by that name of an idiot? He's not an idiot. He's a free soul.
Yeah.
He's a spiritual one. So that was my introduction in 1990. I was also going to, or shortlisted to play that role of Mishkin.
Okay.
The only regret as an actor that I didn't play that role.
Do you not want to make a film now or a play now where you could play that role?
No. It was that film with Mani that I wanted to do it, yeah. So then I thought I'll do The Idiot as a play. And I started writing it in India. I didn't have this process then. I wrote it for about 3-4 months, then I gave up. But it was always very special, that book, for me. And the last 2-3 years I'm thinking, okay, I don't want to do a play with clowns anymore. I want to do a play which is kind of a realism. Kya karu? Then I thought I'll do Sara Akash, which is a book by Rajendra Yadav, and I was excited. I got the rights for that. Then I started reading it. I said, no, it doesn't excite me now. Then last year on a flight, I started reading Karamazov. I said, this is it. This is the play. Yeah.
I read the first book was Poor Folk, which in the edition that my grandfather had, a lot of these illustrations also. In those days, used to get. And then I read this Crime and Punishment, which was a little bit later, but I didn't understand much actually. I'm like, ye kya kitab hai, kya ho raha hai isme? Then I reread it, and in fact that led me to go to Kamatipura actually, because I didn't understand that Sonia and this guy's thing. So, I mean, Russian literature actually, if you ask anyone in Bihar, Allahabad, those days, there were all these books, like I still remember Chestnut Grey, they had all these fairy tale books also from Russia. It was I wanted to do one story, but hua nahi kabhi. But there was this influx, even now if you go.
I remember reading as a child a book called Teen Mote Aadmi, Three Fat Men. Like a novel only with a hardcover they used to give for 20 rupees or whatever. And I remember that with illustrations. I remember
Yeah,
that
and very beautiful illustrations. They're not expensive at all. They used to come to the book fairs to give. So there was this huge, like, whole world which was so unknown to us, in the sense there were these stuffs where people would lie down uske upar. But I was like, यहाँ पे कैसे stuff के ऊपर कोई सोएगा? And there was like this Siberian mink like fur and all this, and we had no idea. So that led us to imagine a lot, which helped in terms of later on, because that's where we went. Eventually we didn't go to other jobs. So I also wanted to ask you, like, how do you imagine, like you know, you are also imagining a whole world out of that world which existed at that point in time, and as a creative person, then how do you kind of bring that to fit like Brother Karamazov to fit it in Delhi?
It's well, that is a process of adaptation. It's not, it's not that hard. You see similarities, and again the world is not changed, and Russia 150 years back is not very different from India now. I mean, you can easily, there are of course things which have changed drastically, like Katrina going to Mitya's house for money was such a scandal. Now it will not be such a scandal. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
Event, you know.
Now nothing is a scandal,
so
actually.
That kind of thing. To some extent things have changed, but not by and large. We still find it very, very relevant. And the whole thing about faith, and we're not going that deep into it. We're not delving into it so much because Dostoevsky is too religious for me. He has very, very strong faith, and I don't. So yeah, but we can't run away from that either, because that's a big part of the book.
But I think he went through also a lot of this trauma and
but you know,
turbulence.
Nobody who writes like Dostoevsky. Nobody in the world. There's nobody who constructs a sentence like that. Forget the story and characters and suffering and existentialism, but just that the sentence itself leads you to fucking brain fever. Because he creates in one sentence, which goes on for 2 paragraphs.
Sometimes for pages, when you are reading Crime and Punishment, you are feeling this brain fever when he goes and kills the landlady. You're like, why is he, like, what is going on? And
he does it with the rhythm of his
He's
sentence.
a beautiful writer, though. But then the thing is, translation again.
We only know from translation.
And the other thing, when you touch upon this faith aspect, and I wanted to also talk about artistic freedom. Like, how much freedom do you think we have now vis-a-vis when you started out? Because we also have, you keep navigating on an everyday basis, right? You test this, then you test this, then you figure out a way, and then you either become more creative or you become complete loser because you just can't. But in terms of staging plays and things, they've always been very dangerous kind of terrain.
I don't know. I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
Every time we talk about censorship and this, that, and how things are becoming worse, which I suppose they are, and I keep coming up with this idea of Iranian cinema. Why is that so good? In spite of
all the censorship,
nothing is allowed. Nothing is allowed, and still they make great films.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. And I met an Iranian filmmaker some time back, and I asked him, how many films do you make in a year? He said 14.
Wow.
14 films, and we make 14,000 films a year. And we make crap.
Yeah.
And then we say, "Arey yaar, hum log kis nahi dikha sakte?" Come on, man. Are we making bad films because there's censorship on us?
But kitna to kis dikha rahe abhi?
Whatever. You know what I'm saying? For years the rona was कि भाई
you can't
नहीं हो सकता, इसलिए हम खराब पिक्चर बना रहे हैं. हम क्या करें, हमें तो गुलाब ऐसे दिखाना पड़ता है.
Yeah.
Or whatever reason, or political censorship, or anything. But you're not making bad films because of that. You're making bad films because there's nothing better,
So why do you think we are making such bad? There's too much.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody is interested. Why do we write such bad books? Forget films. Why aren't we doing better theatre?
Yeah,
Country of 1.4 billion.
Yeah.
You're telling me there are 6 people who do theatre that you want to watch? In the country of 1.6 billion? Come on, give me a break.
So what happened to theatre? You guys are very passionate about it. I know that you guys keep doing it. And we come to Prithvi, then we feel like, okay, people are still watching.
Right. People are watching theatre. That has
not changed.
That has become better.
Yeah?
There are more people watching theatre now than there were earlier. For sure. Because people, I think, more disposable income, at least in big cities. People want to go out, people want, some kind of, forget theatre, stand-up comedy, which was non-existent 10 years, 15 years back.
Yeah.
And it sometimes surprises me that people want to spend 1,500 rupees to go and watch somebody tell jokes.
Because you can't joke yourself, so maybe it's like
but
one of those.
So people have money for that, and people have a desire to go out and be entertained.
Yeah, exactly.
So audience for theatre is great.
Yeah.
But the work, I don't know.
And why do you think that has happened?
No
No idea.
I think we are very easily satisfied with our mediocrity. I think by and large as a country. Anybody does something little and they say, oh, Kamal, out, breakthrough and amazing and genius. And
5 stars, 4 stars.
Please.
Yeah.
For mediocre bloody shit.
Yeah.
And the creator is happy, कि अरे वाह इतनी तारीफ हो रही है, अच्छे किया होगा कुछ.
Yeah.
And that's it. So you stop yourself. People don't push themselves, and I find it bizarre. Not in art, maybe. In art, our artists are pushing themselves. Maybe not in class. Also, that might be the other reason, because a lot of our good, rigorous people and disciplined people go into classical arts, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that's where the serious ones go and spend their time and talent. So
And another, I wanted to ask about story, like storytelling, for instance. What are the kind of stories generally people are telling? Like you have done films as well, and you do very interesting kinds of films where you touch upon a lot of complex situations, like Aankhon Dekhi, for instance. What has happened to storytelling in terms of, like, you are there, and you're also doing theatre, you're also doing films, so writing, acting. Any changes that you have noticed? Like I feel that there's a certain insistence on this gang type situation now. Like this Gangs of Wasipur ke baad se there's this only...
That is fad. That kind of thing comes and goes. This won't last. कुछ और इंटरेस्ट हो जाता है ऑडियंस का, तो सब उस तरह की चीज बनाने लगते हैं. वो तो भेड़ चाल है. फिर कोई एक और हिट हो जाएगा तो सब उस तरह की चीज बनाने लगेंगे.
But we thought that with OTT things will get much better.
That has not happened. OTTs have...
because now you watch OTT and it's...
No, they have really, I think, at least at this moment, they've not been kind to independent kind of cinema or innovative cinema at all. They're doing their own thing. Well, everybody is in to make money, I suppose, and so they have their own way to make money.
But there's also that whole thing, like when I was in journalism school, one professor told me that, you feed people with this kind of, crap. So, it's like chocolate ही मांगेगा तो chocolate देते रहो health के लिए ठीक नहीं. Sometimes
दोनों तरफ से चक्कर है. कि एक तो ये है कि हम लोग वही, क्योंकि हमारे 70s में भी प्रोड्यूसर्स बोलते थे कि भाई हम खराब पिक्चर बना रहे हैं, because this is what the audience wants.
Yeah.
And the thing was कि आप ऑडियंस को कुछ और दे ही नहीं रहे, तो उन्हें क्या पता भाई कुछ और पॉसिबल भी है. लेकिन अब तो हम ऑडियंस को देने को तैयार हैं दूसरी चीज भी. लेकिन हमारी ऑडियंस अभी भी अनपढ़ है. वो अभी भी जाके वही देखेंगे. मैं पिक्चर और नाम नहीं लूंगा.
I know.
क्योंकि वो पैसा खर्चने की जब बात आती है तो हम 300 रुपये तो उसी टिकट पे खरीदेंगे. आपकी पिक्चर बहुत अच्छी है, आप बहुत अच्छी पिक्चर बनाते हैं, लेकिन आपकी पिक्चर यूट्यूब पे देख लेंगे फ्री में. So that has happened, and I suppose then you get what you deserve. Films or government, you get what you deserve. This is what you chose. Live with it.
But you can't live all the way. You have to, because you are making it, right? But is it a struggle, like,
it's a struggle to find an audience, and it's a struggle to find money to make a next film.
Does it get disappointing at times? Like
it gets disheartening.
Yeah.
For about 2 weeks. After every release, then I screw it. Then you get motivated to do your next thing. I'm actually Chinki. I'm only interested in making my next film. I'm not. पिछला पिक्चर रिलीज हुआ तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, लोगों ने देखा तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, नहीं देखा तो भी, because I know it's made, it's out in the universe. You have seen RK. 50 other people have seen it. I'm okay. I can live with that as long as I get to make my next film. That's the important thing for me.
But does it ever get to the point where you kind of, I don't know how you, because it gets disheartening. Like, let's say we keep doing these issues, right? And if we don't, it's just, sometimes you feel like, छोड़ो यार.
Are you going to give up? Of course you feel
I have said so many times. I was going to study, then I stopped.
Correct.
Every day I feel.
You think every day you feel, but you don't give up now. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe slowly I'm giving up only. What do you do? Idhar, udhar, you know, there's so much pressure. But also see, our work is a little bit different in the sense that we are in Delhi. Bombay, when I come, I feel that there's so much like competition, ambition, ye, wo, you know.
You're with your, I mean, at least I'm lucky in that sense. I have friends and
yeah, how do you manage to live in this whole glitter world and still be?
There's no glitter. For me, where is the glitter?
We come here and we
आप लोगों ने light लगाए तो glitter है, नहीं तो कहाँ है glitter?
नहीं, but Bombay में नहीं है. Like in the film world itself, it's just shiny,
not in
glamour.
The film world like that, yeah. So you know, we are not. We are in your daily life. You're not saying glitter, glitter, no. In your daily life, you're with your family, you're with your friends, and luckily, you know. I'll tell you something. I spoke to Kumar couple of months back before he died, and he was not sounding good.
Yeah.
He was quite low at that time. The only time I've heard him low on the phone. And he was in Calcutta and he said, I don't want to be here. I want to be in Bombay. And he says, you know, Rajat, there is nobody to talk to. Who do you talk to now? Also, he was 82, and I think Vivan Sundaram passed away, who was a very dear friend. That also affected Kumar a lot. And then he was like, there's nobody to talk to. Who do you talk to? And I was telling him, Kumar, you know, that way, I'm lucky because I do theatre.
Yeah.
And there is this theatre community, or at least this group of friends that we meet regularly, and we are able to create together, and we're able to travel together. So even when you're not making a film, at least you're not isolated in terms of. But Bombay also feels, I mean, I'm sure it's the same case with Delhi, because this isolation is also kind of becoming huge. And this whole culture also is making us. That's why friendship and more than friendship, people you work with, people with the same ideology, same belief system,
don't you get like trust issues with people?
What issues?
You know, trust issues with people.
But you know that community remains.
No, yours it's very nice because I've been to some of the gatherings. People are the same. The same
that community is important, you know. I feel for everyone, and especially for us. And in bad times, the community keeps your faith alive, keeps you alive, keeps your hopes alive. In spite of Dostoevsky.
No, I like Dostoevsky. It's quite fun also sometimes, by the way. Just to even Google his quotes and just to see, okay, what was he thinking at that point in time, and maybe if he lived with that kind of trauma, then maybe we can also live through this kind of trauma, right? Like, and that time he didn't even have a therapist. At least, I mean, I have access to a therapist. But
writing must have been his therapy, no?
Yeah, writing probably, yeah. I think writing, a lot of people also recommend this journaling and all that. So I don't know, maybe that was journaling for him. Because does it make creative people like you, let's say, who are thinking very alternatively, you know, that is it difficult? Because, you know, then you kind of, you can't blend in, you can't like go away, you still have to, who would have thought of Brother Karamazov in today's time?
Oh.
Like that.
But we'll see how I think the play, I think these things have value, you know. It's very hard book to read. Very hard book to read. But I don't think it'll be a very hard play to watch. Wow, I think at least we're trying to, you know, like I said, bring the essence of it within 90 minutes, 100 minutes. That itself is hard to take a bloody 1200 page book. And
how do you do that actually, this compression?
Like I said earlier, that you try and stick to the essence and take out the frills, which may have been important for him or to Shakespeare about the war and plot, and I'm not interested in that. So I'm attacking the meat of the situation,
the thing. And the other thing, one of my last two questions is that, see, like if we were to look at Rajat Kapoor, you do a lot of things. You're doing film, you're doing a play, you're also reading, you're writing, you're also making I think a ghost film. Remember
horror
this?
Film, I want to,
Yeah. I mean, like this, I don't know if it will have zombies, but then...
There is, but we try to write it. I can't crack it yet.
You can't, because in zombies, like, you don't have the concept of undead in India, no? यहाँ आत्मा है. I don't know. I have been watching so many zombie films. That's why I'm like a little bit. But
correct.
But how do you like manage to you know, because it's very difficult for us. Like, so we are now doing this God men, God women, right? Completely immersed in it. Now we can't get out of it. We go to satsang and all. How do you manage to get away, detach? Do you detach? Do you not detach? How do you keep sane? Do you like, what do you do?
I don't, this also I don't quite understand how, we're doing for example, now we're doing Karamazov, and I'm completely into Dostoevsky and reading that book every day, which is also stressful, by the way,
Yeah.
to keep dipping into that madness. But once the play is ready, then the play exists outside of you, you know. You went through that journey and it happened, but then it becomes an entity on its own.
Yeah.
And then you're away from it. Then you're not...
Then if you're juggling 2-3 things, like let's say a film, which is a different medium, writing,
Right.
different medium.
But
theatre,
it's not everything happening at the same time, right? So right now I'm not doing anything else except the play. Once the play opens, maybe I'll take 2 months off and write a new script. When I'm making a film, I'm only making that. It's just,
Oh, so you...
yeah, it's
do
not
that
like
one.
I'm doing everything on the same day.
Oh, we thought like us, you know, everything on the same day. ये भी कर लो, वो भी कर लो.
आपका अलग है.
सब कुछ कर लो एक ही दिन में. No, another thing is, what is your dream in the sense, in terms of what you do? Is that there's
I
one
want to be
thing-
making films when I'm 95. That is my dream.
Yeah.
Another 30, 35 years, I want to be still making films at the age of 95. I don't want to... That is my dream. I want to be directing in a director's chair at the age of 95. If I can achieve that, I'll give you a party on
That's
my 96th birthday.
And one favorite line from Brother Karamazov, if you have
Hey
anything.
Bhagwan.
Maybe 1 or 2, or anything that, any scene that kind of moved you, which was...
Arey yaar, oh. On the flight itself,
Yeah.
First time I'm reading it, and there is a scene where Zosima, the starets, people are coming to see him, and there is a woman who's crying, and she has her hands on her cheeks, and she's moving her face like that, and she's saying, my child, my 3-year-old child, he died, and I'm moved just telling you this, and I want him back. I won't even touch him. Just let me see him play in the yard once again. And Josima tells her that he's happy he's playing in the God's garden right now. Don't cry. And she said, my husband also said this, and I don't want to hear this. I've left my husband. I don't want to hear this. I want him back. And he says that go back to your husband. Because when a child sees from there that you have left him, how bad will he feel?
Yeah.
But no, not this, but when the woman is crying about the lost baby, oh my God, it's so fucking moving.
Yeah?
So we've been now rehearsing for 35 days. For the first 15, 20 days, I was traumatized because I didn't know how the play will end.
Yeah.
Where does it end? Does it end with a trial? What happens in the end?
Yeah.
क्योंकि किताब में तो बहुत आगे तक चले जाते हैं. So I didn't know how it'll end, and that was quite traumatic for me. And then we thought this scene in the beginning where Zosima tells her something, but we don't hear it in the beginning. Now we'll bring it back to the end.
Oh.
And then Zosima tells, so that became the thing. Zosima says, बहुत दुख है माँ, बहुत दुख है.
What?
बहुत दुख है.
बहुत दुख है.
सब समेट ले अपने अंदर.
How do you do that? That's exactly what we asked yesterday. I said, वो तो है. How?
You have to contain it, and like he tells Alyosha, find joy in your suffering.
Yeah. So you found the joy?
Every day.
Yeah?
Every minute. Every minute.
So I think we should also find joy like this. And I hope people watch Brothers Karamazov, because
Karamjale Brothers.
Karamjale Brothers, because I could never finish that book actually. I tried. It's so thick.
Good. So now you'll know what the book is about.
Exactly.
How it ends, you know.
No, I mean, yeah, Crime and Punishment is enough for me after
Right,
the trauma that, actually somebody wrote to me an email saying that after reading this book and after reading, like, my innocence is killed. Like, it's been murdered.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know what to say. I said, I mean, good for you or whatever. I really feel sorry that.
Good for you or sorry for you.
I'm sorry also because I don't know how to, because it's good also that
you grew up.
That kind of innocence shouldn't exist also. But it's a great book actually because this whole thing, and it helps you understand many other things like serial killers, for instance, later on. But thank you so much for talking to us, and we'll be there to watch your play and cheer as cheerleaders.
Thank you. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you, Chinki.
Always.
On and off camera.
Always.